still talking about Manny Pacquiao versus Manuel Marquez, Part 3. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about that. We're giving you a chance to air out your opinions, your thoughts. If you have any questions, we're going to try our best to answer that today on the show. And I say us because we have our guest today, Steve Kim of Max Boxing. And you've been writing for how long now?
For about 11 years now.
11 years. You've been covering boxing since 1996.
Yeah, 1996 at a small radio station, and I graduated to the internet.
Right, and now you've just been covering. You also work out at the Wildcard Gym. You're a boxer yourself, so you know a little bit more than most of us. Assessment of the fight.
Well, I thought it was a close tactical fight.
Let me just premise this by saying that we're being watched by a lot of Filipinos and Filipino Americans. That's not to intimidate you or anything, but okay, honest opinion.
Let me just say this. This is not going to be popular with most of your constituency, but I believe that I thought Marquez won the fight. 7 rounds to 5, 115, 113. But I want to say this. I think people that use the term robbery have to be very careful here. I think there's 3 strong factions. I believe I would say 40% of the feedback that I got had Marquez winning. Some of them felt very strongly it was a lopsided decision for the Mexican. I believe that the other 30 and 30%, the other 60%, they felt it was a draw or a very close Pacquiao victory. So I think that people have to be able to keep this in proper context. This was a close fight.
And I am no boxing expert, but I've been covering Pacquiao, and I am a Filipino, I must say that. But I was there, I was watching the fight. I thought Marquez really did well, surprised a lot of people, even Pacquiao. A surprise to me was Pacquiao showing that night. I expected more from him, but then I started questioning myself. Maybe we're just too spoiled seeing him, do his best in the ring all the time, knocking out opponents bigger than him.
Janelle, I think that you touched upon something very interesting. That's called having low expectations. And we come into this fight, let's look at the facts. Marquez closed at about a 9.5 to 1 underdog. So he's a steep underdog. Most people believe he was simply too small, too old, too slow, and that he would get blown out of there. So when you have low expectations, and when an underdog like Marquez is able to exceed those expectations and be very competitive, I think psychologically that the audience, and sometimes even judges, they start to give extra credit for making it closer than expected. I want to actually watch the replay, because I think I may have done that.
And so, see, Marquez did better than what's expected of him, but that doesn't make him beat the champion, because I thought he got a lot of solid punches in there, combinations, uppercut, and all that, body shots to Pacquiao, and he hurt Manny. Manny looked hurt and winded, and he looked tired. The mouthpiece. It's just, but I thought Manny won the fight. It was a close fight, but I thought Marquez should have been more aggressive, seeing that he was a challenger and the burden was on him to dethrone the champion.
I have not seen the broadcast yet. I was there ringside as you were. If it is true that Nacho Beristain eased up on the reins and did not go to the whip in the last 6 minutes, that's shameful. I think you have to understand the atmosphere, you have to understand the surroundings that you're in and the environment. I think based on the first 2 fights, they had to realize that we have to go above and beyond to really take this title from Manny Pacquiao.
And even Marquez said, I talked to him on his media day, and he said that he was going for a knockout because he didn't want it to go to he didn't want the judges to give the decision on this. But I guess maybe not sure if it's true that he said, we're winning, and that's why Marquez held back, and that's another factor too. Rather, we have our first caller on the line, Edgar. Hi, Edgar.
Hi, good afternoon, Janelle.
Yes.
It's Edgar Bally, sir. I know that it's a very controversial fight, but the way Manny Pacquiao trained for this fight, I don't think he did give enough time for this training.
Okay.
But I know that Marquez would have a hard time winning if he didn't knock out Pacquiao.
Okay.
So that's my comment.
Right. Thank you for that comment. I disagree, however. Manny Pacquiao actually overtrained for this fight.
Well, according to Freddie Roach, his trainer, now, I find this to be very ironic. Leading into the fight, they said, this is the best camp we've had since De La Hoya. And we started it 10 weeks out, and we sparred for all 10 weeks. And Freddie told me yesterday, and he reiterated today
on Twitter
at the Wild Card, that we simply worked too long. I think you have to understand now, Manny is above the age of 30. He knows how to fight. There's a lot of miles on that automobile. I don't think you need to take it for a rough spin every single time. And I think, to me, I'm talking to some other trainers and managers who are very experienced, Janelle. He looked like a guy, as they say, he left it in the gym. I do think that there was a process of overtraining here for this fight.
Right, and I was asking them too at the media day for Pacquiao, because they said 2 days before, I think it was Freddie that said, you know, if he were to fight Marquez today, he'd be okay. And I'm like, that was 2 weeks out, a week and a half out, and could he be peaking too soon? And that's probably...
That's exactly what happens to a lot of fighters, especially veteran ones. I've always felt that training camps have been a little bit too long. There used to be a time when fighters were much more active, Janelle, where they fight once every 6 to 8 weeks, not every 6 to 8 months. So now the process of training for a fight becomes different.
Right.
When you were fighting once a month, you wouldn't even really call it training. You'd call it going to the gym.
Right.
Now you fight twice a year like Manny. It is a process where you have to first get into shape. To get into shape, then you have to train, and you actually train for the fight. And I do think coming into this next couple of fights that no matter how Manny's career plays out here, I think from this point forward, I think the training camps will be shorter from Freddie Rhodes.
And we're going to be talking about the distractions as well, because Bob Arum talked about that. A lot of analysts in the Philippines are talking about that. You want to talk about that?
Yes.
When we return on the show, don't go away.